it sounds to me, I may be very wrong, that when you're walking along the side, you're seeing the race out there. In other words, you're looking at yourself competing, or are you on the boat competing? In other words, are you actually there? Is that what you're seeing? And you're feeling the splash of the water and the wind. So are you observing yourself, or are you on the spot? If you take someone going the luge downhill, they go down the luge. It's them actually in their mind going down the luge. That's how they learn the turns and where they're going to lift. And are you looking at yourself, or?
Well, first of all, I'm looking from a bird's eye view at the course, and I'm seeing the wind patterns and how the boats are moving around before the start. This is pre-start. So I'm seeing that, and then I switch to a straight ahead view. So I'm looking in front of the mast, seeing the other boats coming towards me or coming with me, and then I'll switch again to an aerial view and say, where am I now? And then go back down again. So you get a big picture, and you can see what's going on. Then you switch back, and then you go somewhere, and then you look at the big picture and say, where am I now? And then go back in again. One of the main things is, so you're going along positioning to be against or get a gap on another boat, but also as well you need to go up on the helicopter and see where the lines of wind are, because the lines of wind have shifts of 3, 4, 5 degrees. So when you get your start, you want to make sure when you're looking ahead like that, looking at the boat beside you, you say, where's that wind shift? Do I need to speed up or slow down here? And what do I need to do? Looking there. Then again, to put myself in the right spot for the shift. So it's a combination of both. A combination of both.
I'll just come back at you with 2 examples from interviews I've done, Herb Elliott and Murray Rose. Herb, if you know his background, but he used to train, and he was often asked, who are your competitors? His only competitor was this invisible person that he created to run with, because he was always running alone. And this person was always sitting on his back. And he was always trying to pass him. And he trained for a year and a year after year. But that person also came onto the race with him. He was never competing against, he never lost a race. That person, he wasn't competing against the others in the flock, he was competing against his invisible racer. And Murray, I remember, particularly with the 1500, he used to say, I don't know the exact words, but he was floating in a bubble of almost joy. He didn't feel any pain. He was literally, just floating. It's a 15-minute race, and he's constantly going, and he's just, it was unconscious of where everyone else, it didn't seem to matter, but of course he knew where everyone else was.
So that's where you're going to flow. The modern word is flow, that where it's just what we call flow, when you just flow along and everything works and you feel great. Coming back to your original thing, I do have a critic on my shoulder as well, and I have a protector as well. So I have a critic. The critic is the one that saying you can do better, let's do this, do that. And then I have protectors who say you are doing good. So it's a mental game. As you say, something's pushing you. And this is why I was talking before about not getting involved with the other boats and the other competitors, not letting them hassle you, not letting them bother you, but you're sailing your own race within a race. So yes, I appreciate what you're saying there about somebody being there. When that person's not there pushing you before the start or during your training, it's hard. If they join you in the race, that's when things go really well.
Can I go back to the Greg Chappell example? And I mentioned it the other night that he was practicing in a chair. He actually went into a lounge room and he'd turn down the lights and he'd sit there and he'd play a match of cricket and he'd pick who the team was And then he started picking up specifics of bowlers and what they would do. If it was going to be a fast ball, an outswing, a bumper, they would change, and he would pick it up, and he went back to the tapes and he would discover that. So he noticed it in his mental training, which was actually playing. Every ball was or you would get 8 balls, change over, another bowler. So he was running it just like a proper game. But he started to pick up things about the opposition that he hadn't consciously acknowledged that he knew. Does that come in? Do you have similar experiences? I'm not saying it should, I'm just wondering if...
So, with many years of ocean sailing in particular, we get to know specific boats and specific crews, and we get to know their weaknesses, and we get to know how they'll respond to certain events during a race or during a regatta. So you do subconsciously get to know, if you're, for example, coming to the spinnaker down to a bottom mark here, and you're coming to go around to go back into the wind, and you've got a certain competitor here, you do know out of experience how they're going to react. So you do, in the preparation for the race or the event, you do actually go through in your mind, if this vessel or that competitor is in this situation, I've got to respond in a certain way. So yes, it may be not like the bowling and everything, but I think because we have a lot of interactions with vessels, if you've got 100 vessels and a fin, and they're 4.5 meters long, you're going to have a start line that's 1.2 kilometers long. It's like a swarm of birds. So I don't know if you've ever seen in the sky when the birds fly together like that. That's what the sailing's like. Everybody's doing that like that. So by running through the race, and maybe I do a lot where I watch replays of world championships or whatever, you can see the patterns developing, and the patterns are quite, I guess a mathematician would work them out, but the patterns are quite recognizable, and the responses to different things are quite recognizable. So by doing that, as long as you can say, I'm hearing that pattern and that swirling of birds or the swirling of boats, and you can, as you're sailing, go back up to that helicopter and say, oh, I've been in this situation before, even if it be theoretically looking at races on the TV or your video or whatever. You go, okay, I don't need to hang on as I am. Maybe I need to sacrifice a bit of speed in this boat so I can go in counter direction to them. So when they come back, I've actually got an advantage on them. So that's probably how it translates to sailing.